And in this process, we even seen the full involvement of banks, bankers, judges, policemen, and not only customers officials. We don't see this in just in a low-level ranking, but also big high ranking of this kind of thing. So I agree with some people that understand that if they would legalize drugs as they did with alcohol, they would make people see where are those drug dealers, who are they, and they would not be able anymore to take profit from this criminal aspect. As long as they keep it as a crime and as illegal, this will even push people, make it stronger, stimulate all the process, and so they don't pay taxes, and this creates an environment of crime and violence, and the real responsible are hidden behind these curtains. So this is a big challenge, to legalize drugs as a first step, and then to address the problem. Address it also in two levels. One level would be the social understanding of the problem, which would create the bankruptcy of many banks. Big banks would go bankrupt if they would stop laundering money, which are billions of dollars every year, or trillions of dollars being laundered. So we would see this falling apart. And not only that, but we should then address in every place, every community, all communities, homes, family, medias, schools, hospitals, to understand that if you take drugs, you're not benefiting yourself. You are destroying your brain, and this gives pleasure to the person. It's really difficult for a person to admit that, but this idea that taking drugs is something against society gives pleasure to many young people. But in reality, they are not going against the rulers of society. They are feeding the rulers of society, because they are numbing their consciousness. They are becoming easy puppets for them, because you stop thinking, you lose your intelligence, you don't question anymore, so you become an easy puppet, and also you give money to them, so you are a slave many times. If you take drugs, you lose your freedom, totally lose your freedom.
Thinking that you're making a big personal statement away from the society, you're actually contributing to the sickest people.
Yes, and you are like becoming a slave of them, even a bigger slave.
Just to illustrate this, Claudia, I remember a statistic from Catherine Austin Fitz from the Solari Institute, I think it's called, United States. She worked for the Department of Housing, I think, in the United States for many years. She quoted Department of Justice statistics, saying that illegal crime profits that are laundered through the U.S. banking system per year, this is at least 10 years ago I heard this, is $500 billion to $1 trillion per year of illegal crime profits. A large part of that, of course, is drugs. And so we have an enormous social problem that's not only the fault of the people who are addicted, but also of the whole power structures of our planet who are stimulating this in direct ways, because they make a lot of money. There's a big profit margin, and you're dealing with heroin and cocaine.
Big, huge profits. If you, when I was in France, the barrel of petrol was still $8.
Whoa.
And this was in 91, 92. So the heroin, coming from the Middle East and Asia, the gram cost around $300.
Good heavens.
The gram.
Yeah.
So imagine a barrel compared to a gram.
No,
so it's unbelievable how more expensive and profitable drugs are. And you speak about tons of drugs, tons of drugs being trafficked.
Yeah. Well, we have an enormous subject to enter into in that area, and I think we should do that as we move through our program. But it might be good to come back a little bit, Claudia, to
our psychological inner self.
Our psychological inner self.
Because we have a tool which is the biggest weapon to defend ourselves from all these pathologies in society, which is our consciousness.
Yeah. You said recently in one of the TV programs, I was watching this with my students the other day, and it really stood out to me. You said that, by the way, Dr. Claudia Bernhardt Pacheco and Dr. Kepi do a television program that runs in all sorts of countries around the world. And you can find information on all of that kind of activity that's happening here from our center in São Paulo, Brazil.
In our site. We have many TV shows posted in our site.
So I want to just to direct you to our portal site, which has links to bookstores, to the Stop the Destruction of the World Association, to our podcast, to our television programs. All of these kinds of things are available on our portal site at www.trilogia, trilogia.ws, trilogia.ws. But in this TV program that I was watching with my students, Claudia, you mentioned something that we will never truly be able to cure our illnesses, whether they're physical or mental or even social, if we don't interiorize, as you talked about it, if we don't bring the problems of the world into ourselves to see what's going on inside us that is creating that external problem, or how we are relating to that external problem in some way. So let's define that for people. What do you mean by this analytical trilogy concept of interiorization? How do we understand it?
Well, we can understand it even better through this concept of resonance and energetics. If you see something outside of you, this could be a problem in society, a problem in another person, this may create a kind of, or any emotion in myself. This emotion can be a positive emotion. I can feel happy, I can identify, I can vibrate in a positive way, or I can be afraid, I can become irritated, angry, and all this is like a chance to know myself better, because all elements of the external life are related to our inner life. Normally we don't think we even have an inner life. When I first heard this from Kepi, when I started my analysis with him a long time ago, by the way, he mentioned something about my inner life. So I wondered, what is this about, an inner life? So nobody spoke about inner life at that time. And I guess many people still don't speak about it. So we do have an inner life, but we are not conscious of this. What is an inner life? It's everything we feel, we think, we desire, our values, our thoughts, our feelings, our premonitions, our intuitions, our consciousness, our responsibility, ethics, sense of harmony, aesthetics. We have the whole universal concepts inside of us. So we have all the truth, potentially, if we can say that, inside of us in order to be able to recognize what we see outside. So all the process of learning something, a child doesn't need to be taught about everything in order to recognize the world. So you don't start teaching grammar to a child. And when you say, well, this is a dog, or this is or I'm angry, or I'm happy, babies, they recognize, they resonate. And each concept we have in us, each idea, it's a kind of resonance that we do with something or someone else outside of us. So we recognize things. If I see a bird flying,